Alrighty, and welcome back to the conclusion of the quarterfinals of our preseason tournament here at QRLS Season 11. We've got the Sappers taking on the Armada. I'm Drakpack. I'm joined by Cryptero. Cryptero, if you were watching the stream, the last match with the Clarity United Astros, did that cast with Reserve Wolf, and talked to him about this matchup, and he seemed relatively confident. Do you feel that way for the Sappers as well? Break it down. What do you feel?
Um, I think Reserve's just confident because he's on the team with Sappers. I think that's what he's talking about. Armada's definitely an interesting roster though, like with Mimsy, and then he's got 2 higher-rated players to kind of help him out, get the dub, whereas Sappers are a very even team, you know, pretty all around. They got Fabrizi, looks like they're bringing nobody in reserve back today. Should be interesting. Uh, we saw Sappers, I believe we cast it last time. We saw him take down the Kings. That was a great series, 5-game series, couple OTs where Sappers were able to just come back and win the games late a couple times. But the notable thing is that was a completely different roster. We don't have a single player from that team on this team. It was Crocs and 2 subs, and now Crocs is gone, and he doesn't have any subs. So it'll be very interesting. This will be the first look at this Sappers roster here. But so I don't know what we'll see, but that Armada roster, very interesting. What do you think of the Armada roster? Did you catch their first round matchup?
I did not, unfortunately, but just taking a look at it, I mean, I commented about the Astro roster, and I think even your roster, Cryptero, to some degree. You guys kind of have the opposite problem where Astros GN flicks at 270, really hard to build a roster around. Mimsy is in the opposite situation where he can afford to bring on some better players, kind of boost himself along. Um, kind of view him as kind of a hard carry roster, but Sappers with addition to the Clarity United roster, they are the most together in terms of their ratings, in terms
Mhm.
of calculating out with standard deviation. I believe they're both around the 18 mark. I did not quite check what Armada's at, but Sappers, when you have a squad that's that close together in ratings, I feel like there's a little bit more chemistry. You know what everybody can do on that roster. You know what kind of everybody's capable of. There's not really anybody who's going to surprise you and kind of pull out something that's crazy that you didn't expect somebody to be able to do. Maybe a little bit, maybe sometimes, but everybody's still relatively around the same skill level versus if you have someone who's like maybe higher than you kind of aren't expecting them to do things and that can lead to double commits. Or if you have somebody who's lower and you're kind of underestimate how quickly they can get back on rotation, and you go for a ball that maybe you wouldn't have gone for necessarily if you knew that you kind of needed to stall out a little bit longer. That could cause some problems, but Armada surging up the power rankings, they were not favorited to make it to this point, but credit to them, they managed to get here. So I don't know if they're gonna have enough to pull it off. I do think Sapper still wins, but I think this Armada team is going to be a little bit more of a team to watch. Not necessarily what people thought in the beginning of the year, but you know, something a little bit better, maybe something in a little bit more of a playoff contention spot.
Yeah, for sure. We saw Armada, at least in the first round, take down 3 Rocketeers. And I believe they did have a sub instead of Mimsy. They brought in Panda, who had a great showing himself. So I believe this will be Mimsy, the captain of Armada's first series. So a lot of first looks at teams, and like you mentioned, a lot of evened out rosters, which kind of it leads to like there's 2 sides of it, you know? You got everybody kind of on the same page, you theoretically know what everybody's capable of, so that way there's no surprises, it's a even roster, you don't have to worry about this leaving one specific person back if you think they're the lowest rating or going for a good shot if you're worried they'll make it. but that also leads to the sense of like, wow, this rating similar to mine is perhaps playing worse than I think he would, or perhaps he's better than the other rating guy. Then kind of leads to some tension in there, as well as it limits kind of the, I guess, pop off potential of a roster. You don't have that high rating player that can peak. You have the solid roster that's supposed to be consistent though. So that's kind of the thing you're aiming for, consistency, just all around evenness with these rosters. But I I do I think I do have to agree that Sappers should take this. I think it'd be a 3-1 would be my guess. I do think Armada get a game. It's very difficult to cast a vote here. Um, just because we haven't seen 4 of the players in this lobby. But we're gonna get started here, and I'm curious. I think you mentioned Sappers, but what do you think for the series score?
Series score, the only game that has not gone to 5 that I've casted has been Hammerhead Speed Demon, so I think it's going to be 3-2, but I think Sappers blow out game 1, and then we're going to have a pretty even series after that. But as we get started here, Hawaii going to get us started off here, going to carry the ball into the offensive half. Sappers will struggle to deal with it, but nobody's going to get the clear. Kauai's going to stop it from leaving the offensive half, though. Mimsy rising for the shot, but that's going to get blocked by Fabrizi, and nobody almost gets there, but Insane Clown's going to carry it to the offensive corner. Get the 100 boost, but then get completely owned on the 50-50. Mimsy's back on defense, but so far, no score.
Yeah, very even game, and kind of what you'd expect with these even rosters, but Mimsy is going to put it away. Break out the scoring in the first minute of game 1 here. Lowest rated person in the lobby. But he's getting the angle there. And Mimsy is definitely, if he's on his game, like, he'll be underrated for his rating, and he'll be able to hang with the best of them, which can definitely boost Armada up and give him the win here. But we'll see if Fabrizi, as he goes for this, and the Sappers, it's like quick to respond for game 1.
Mimsy fighting the narrative that he's getting carried. Fabrizi will handle a very dangerous looking ball, but Mimsy's going to put it right back in. Kauai's going to go for the redirect. Ends up as a pass middle, but it's going to get handled. Still dangerous for Sappers. Nobody will take care of it. Trying to get a second touch here to get it out, but can't quite get to it. Fabrizi is upside down and AFK gets a bump. Reserve Wolf's going to take care of that, though. 50-50, ball still in the Armada half. Insane Clown now with an air dribble to try to make something of it, but Reserve World's going to shut that down.
Yeah,
and Fabrizi is back, so no worries there.
Very interesting tactic from Fabrizi, turtling on his back for about 5 seconds there, but hasn't led to them being scored on, so who am I to judge? But very questionable, as he does go for that ball and miss it. But he's got nobody backing him up. I have played with nobody a couple times here. Nothing in the league, but just random games. And he's also a very good player when he's on his game. He'll shock people, but as I compliment the Sappers roster, Armada is going to put in another one, give it a 2-goal lead before halftime. A great wall pass from Kauai. Insane Clown there to finish it away. And nobody from Sappers back in time. Just too quick from Armada there, giving the lead.
Are we going to see this snowball? Are we going to see the classic Game 1 drag cast where we're getting a blowout? Insane Clown will make it 3-0 off of a kickoff goal. Fabrizi throwing sorry in the chat. Just nobody could get back to deal with that. I might have been wrong here on my assumption that Sappers was just going to carry Game 1. It was really a 50-50 coin toss. I should have known better, but you know how things are in Rocket League. Sometimes it's a little unpredictable, but nobody's going to try to get the 0 off the scoreboard, but Insane Cloud's going to take care of it. Kauai is going to fail to deal with a dangerous ball. Nobody trying to bring this back center, but Reserve Wolf's gonna have a great shot that Mimsy's barely gonna get cleared. And Reserve Wolf taking out their frustration on Mimsy for saving that with a demo.
Yeah, we see Reserve Wolf get his demo there. I haven't been paying too much attention, but he hasn't had too many this game, I don't think, which is something Reserve is definitely known for in the league, of getting his demos. And the main thing I'm wanting to see from Sappers is, I mentioned earlier that nobody, like, you have the even rosters, which kind of limits the pop-off potential. I will caveat that with saying, I think if anybody in this lobby were to be that, it would be nobody for the side of Sappers. I've seen him play. He'd be a great player when he's on. Definitely shoot above his rating. But sometimes it just gets a little awkward, but he does get the pass into 50, leads to Reserve Wolf putting it away. 3-1 here. Still some life, still plenty of time left for this Sappers roster, but they're going to have to keep the momentum going.
Yeah, everyone just kind of stacked up, a little bit awkward on defense. It just so happens when you got people who are moving against people who aren't, momentum wins. And, you know, that time didn't necessarily lead to a goal right away, but the ball was still in the dangerous area. And, you know, when all three players commit to a defensive save, that just leaves 2 on the offensive side for a quick tap in. So Sappers getting the 0 off the board, that's going to be really important for the future games. Still able to come back here is not over yet, but it's still important to get that momentum going. Reserve Wolf going to carry it. A little bit of a dribble, not quite though. Gets cleared away. Kawaii to Mimsy. Mimsy just a little bit high. Can anyone capitalize on it? No. Mimsy's going to take it to the corner though, where Fabrizi and nobody are waiting to get it back out of their defensive half. Fabrizi with a touch, not productive. Insane Clown gonna take it back to Sappers half. Kawaii gonna go for the center, and Insane Clown, kind of awkward touch there on the wall. Doesn't get anything out of it, and Reserve Wolf gonna take it from here. And Fabrizi with a shot attempt doesn't work out well. Insane Clown gonna clear it away. A little bit too late for them to do anything. So it's gonna be Armada taking game 1 off of the big bad Sappers. Trying to make it 4-1 to put the icing on the cake. Not gonna happen though. Sappers gonna try to make it 3-2, but just knocks it just in front.
Yeah,
and it's 4-1. 3-1, sorry.
it's definitely interesting here this first game. Sappers not looking like they're all kind of on the same page. You kind of expect their gameplay to be reserved, get some demos ahead. Nobody can be that mechanical player. Maybe get some goals here. Him and Reserve working in tandem, and Fabrizi being a solid third to hold it down. But just not all on the same page. We saw some goals that were just backflips, some misses here, some kickoffs. Just awkward goals that you don't think a team should give up, but the good thing about those is at least that, they can clean it up. It's not some crazy change they gotta make between game 1 and game 2. There's definitely the potential there. And if you're on the side of Sappers, you're looking at the fact that, okay, you kind of let in 3 goals early, but you scored the last one, and after that, you got the 1-0 lead since then, and kinda have the momentum finding their footing. We'll see if they can bring it in game 2, but great game 1 showing from Mimsy as well. We'll see if he can keep it up for Armada.
Exactly. Not a blowout by any means. It was really just moments for Zappers. It was just a little bit of awkwardness here and there. A kickoff goal, those are a little bit more random, not necessarily anybody's fault. It's just the way the ball bounces sometimes. Although that one, I will say, maybe somebody should have gotten to that. But there's still lights, there's still flashes. Fabrizi's gonna try to get us started, and Mimsy is gonna dangerous clear across an open goal mouth to Insane Clown, who's gonna take it from here. Demo on to Reserve Wolf. Kawaii gonna get it center, and Insane Clown just a little bit wide. Kawaii's gonna slowly bounce it into the far corner. Where were Sappers?
I mean, Armada's got some great pressure now, and I mean, I think we both predicted the Sappers, but Armada's playing well here. And Steve Strife with the 4-month sub. He also says Armada's a sleeper. So shout out C Strife for the sub. And maybe he's right. Maybe we were sleeping on Armada. They're playing well. They're giving the dub, and they're giving the pressure to Sappers here. Sappers just have not looked like they found their footing yet. But they're on the pressure here. We'll see if they can get one mid. But Fabrizi's rotating out. Nobody really there to follow up on the shot.
And Armada still having offensive pressure, but Reserve Wolf will take it to their offensive half. Good demo, but nobody to follow up. So Insane Clown's going to get a clear. Nobody with 2 touches trying to get his goal, but not quite able to do it. Reserve Wolf now on a carry. Can't do it either. You know, Reserve will get the goal here. I was about to mention that it feels like Reserve was the only person trying to do anything really on offense there. And there wasn't really any offensive pressure set up, but you know what? A goal is a goal. You take your moments, dodgy clear. Reserve Wolf's there to tap it in. 1-1.
Definitely good cleanup goal right there from the side of Sappers. It's a bit awkward because it didn't really come from any field of play. Maybe just a bit of pressure and then a missed clear on the back wall by, I believe it was Clown that just pinched out to Reserve. But good positioning to be there, finish it away. His Reserves is leading the charge in game 1, and he looks like he's continuing to do that here in game 2. We got a much closer game so far as nobody's taking it up the air. Still 1-1 about 3 minutes in. First time both teams have actually scored a goal and it be tied game. But Insane Clown's going to take this for an air dribble. Gets it over 1. It's on target. Is he going for the bump? Can't quite get it though. The 50 is going to keep it in the side for Armada. But Kawhi, can he clean it up? Yes, he does. Beautiful finish from Kawhi. Beautiful 50 there. And, I mean, it just goes in. Kawhi 50 in it and finishes it himself.
If you're wondering why that goal was so open, the rotate from nobody was absolutely canceled by a wonderful demo. You know, that's kind of talk about the high risk, high rewards of demo plays. That is the reward right there. To absolutely take out the last defender, Fabrizi stuck in the back of the net because he had to manage it clear and Reserve Wolf on rotation. Nobody was really the only person who could have responded to that shot, and just getting absolutely deleted. I wish I spotted who that was, but I didn't quite catch it. Reserve Wolf trying to bring this back level, but Insane Clown's gonna flash it across their Sappers net. Can't quite happen. Reserve Wolf back to the air. He's been doing that a lot this game. Couple of touches, a bad miss by Armada. Pass it to Fabrizi, a little bit awkward. Nobody's gonna not be able to get to it. Just a little bit too slow. And it's 3-1 Armada out of nowhere.
Yeah, just a little bit of a loose pass from Reserve. There it goes to Armada. They catch Fabrizi. Maybe a little too high, maybe just caught off guard by the poor pass, and nobody as well. Just gets it past him, and that's going to be a 50 into the net again for Armada as Reserve goes for the block, but it ends up just going in their net instead. And I mean, it was a close game at 1-1, but Armada is just pulling away right now. 4-1. Game 1 was 3-1. Are they looking to extend their lead? We'll see. Thought this would be a closer series than it certainly has turned out to be, but Armada's playing well. They look like they definitely have the more chemistry out of the two teams. Maybe that's because they played round 1 at least with most of their roster, whereas the Sappers team did not play in that round 1 at all. But I mean, you can see kind of the flashes of Sappers, but just nothing quite going for them.
You gotta also imagine this is a little bit of a disappointment. This isn't necessarily the same Sappers roster that won last season, but you gotta think it's not a great showing from the champs to be potentially down 2 games in a series against a team that wasn't really rated that highly coming out of the preseason tournament. Sleeper nonetheless, but Kauai makes it 5-1, and I'm not sure if Sappers is going to continue. We were mentioning how uh, we thought Sappers was going to take it. I believe you said 3-1. I'm wondering if Sappers is even going to get a game. They have not shown anything that has been remotely close to something that's going to win a game. They've had some flashes on offense, but it's been royally taken care of by the Armada. And on defense, it just seems like it's misstep, mistiming, miscue, like just a missed touch, Reserve Wolf getting a bad 50, and every one of those mistakes has been capitalized upon. It's like a bounce dribble, or sorry, a normal dribble by Insane Clown, just dribbling it directly into the open net. 6-1, and that's probably going to do it for game 2 if it wasn't already in the books. Armada gonna go for one more for the Brazil, but all intents and purposes, we're going to a game 3 where Sappers is down 2. Not a great
Yeah,
showing from the returning champs.
we're going into game 3, and that might be all we get at this rate. We've seen a lot of blowouts here in the first 2 rounds of, I guess, uh, this season so far, this preseason tournament. But most of them have come in game 1, and then game 2 swings right back. But this one coming in game 2 is not what you want to see. You know, at least if it happens in game 1, you still got most of the series left to try and make adjustments. But I mean, coming in game 2, game 1 was bad enough at 3-1, and now it's 6-1. They just double up their goals. It's looking rough for the Sappers here. They need to find something going, and they need some sign of life. I will say, like, with most of the, I guess, very lopsided wins we've seen, oftentimes it is the other team that came back and won the game right after. So we'll see if Sappers can put up a fight here. They're just not on the same page, not connecting. You saw nobody go for a couple opportunities, but just running out of boost too early, and nobody really there to help each other out and follow each other's plays.
It is really trippy to have uh, nobody as a player, because sometimes it's just as you're naturally talking, it just you lose it a little bit when you use nobody one too many times. It's like, wait, are we talking about nobody stepping up, or like what do we mean by that? Is nobody stepping up, or is nobody stepping up? But yeah, I think probably the more alarming thing is that apart from Reserve Wolf on offense, I can't really point to any like particular bright spot. I can't I can't point out any flashes that, like, because in that game especially, that goal that Reserve Wolf had, that was off of a mistake. That was off of a bad clear that Reserve Wolf basically just had to stand still for, more or less, just drive forward a little bit and dodge into it. But you know, series is definitely not over. This is a team that does know how to win, and they're gonna get a lot of demos here. But Insane Clown's gonna get back for the save, and I
Yeah,
think
Reserve
Sappers really needed that one early, but they're not gonna get it.
Reserve Wolf had some great demos there. Just 2 demos off the field, but they couldn't quite get the third, and the third man's the one that saves it. But they're at least putting up some more offense this game, and I say that as Armada puts one on net. But thankfully, they got the save as another back pass. We've seen a couple of those this series, which hasn't been connecting too great yet. And I know you mentioned last game Reserve Wolf on offense. I think one thing to point out is that he did have their only goal, but he also ended up at the bottom of the leaderboard still for that team. So there's just not a whole lot of offense from, not a whole lot of threatening offense at least. It doesn't feel like they're constantly in their back half, but they definitely don't seem like they're about to score a goal either.
Yeah, I think when you have a demo heavy strategy like Reserve Wolf, And you could, well, first off, if you have a demo heavy strategy, that can kind of leave you a little bit open on defense. And Reserve Wolf there, going for a little bit of a bump, get chased out a little bit too much, caught out on the rotation. Fabrizi and nobody also awkward, leading to probably the easiest goal Insane Clown can score. I mean, we joke about, open net being the hardest goal to score, but in QRLS, open nets are scored on, and you can't just rely on people getting the jitters. Um, but when you have a demo heavy strategy, you can be at the bottom of the leaderboard and still have good impact. But I think just not really being there on defense, he did have a pretty bad own goal. Kind of relying on Fabrizi and nobody to pick up the slack, and once again, Reserve Wolf being the last back on a goal. Kauai just gets a fast break and nobody's back in time. Reserve Wolf, low boost, no boost. It's awkward, but 2-0 down for Sappers Tournament Lives here.
Yeah, that's the thing about going for demos is sometimes you can be pushed up, overextended, and you get caught back. And we saw Reserve there, low boost, trying to make it back in time. If you're going for the demos, you're pushing up, it's going to be costing boost. And it works when it works, but sometimes it can just hurt the team. And not quite connecting yet as a roster, just getting people out and following up on the demos. We saw them have a great chance early on, but the third person left got the save. As he almost puts a goal on net, like just hits the crossbar and goes over. But Armada, one thing to note is they seem a lot more patient, a lot more controlled with their plays. We see a backflip out of Insane Clown, but he's backing the ball. But I mean, it's 2-0 here for the side of Armada, and Sappers just need to get something going. They've never scored even more than one goal a series or a game this series, and now they need 2 just to tie it up. So we'll see how they can get going.
Yeah, let's actually highlight the opposite side of the ball. That patient, gameplay from Armada has exploited of several defensive lapses by Sappers. And I think that's what you kind of need to do when you come in as kind of the underdogs. Nobody's really respecting you. Sappers defensively not really respecting you. And it kind of just leaves these open nets. Bad double commit, bad corner push. Ball gets kicked out, dribbling ever so slowly. That just felt like it was a trickling in front of the net. And nobody will miss. A bronze wouldn't miss that shot. I mean, maybe the bouncing would have gotten them, but that's a shot that anybody can make in the crowd. So Fabrizi almost preventing it from being 4. Insane Clown, a little bit awkward. Reserve Wolf also awkward. Ball still in Sappers' half. If you get a 4th one here, 1 minute to go for the tournament life, for the sweep. Armada looking to make a statement here. And Sappers just trying to get anything going.
Yeah, like you mentioned on that last goal there, it's just been, and like that one, honestly, it's been pretty open nets. I mean, Reserve just trying to get back in time, but a lot of these just seem to be fairly open as people trailing behind, and honestly not the most difficult goals for Armada to score, which almost reflects even worse on the side of Sappers if you're giving up goals like that for pretty much the entire series. It seems like been saying that every single game, as we got a 4-0 here, potentially looking even worse than game 2 was at 6-1. I don't know, it's worse. Oh, okay, it's 5-0 now as Mimsy hits a beautiful aerial. And I would definitely call losing 5-0 worse than 6-1 because you don't even have a goal in this game. And I mean, that's going to be it for the series. Armada just cleanly sweeps Sappers, and Sappers is not even looking like they got a bit of life in them this series.
Yeah, let's highlight Armada for a second. 14 goals on the former champs, assuming this score holds. Sappers had 2. So a little bit more reserved, patient play style. Insane Clown going to make it 6-0 with 11 seconds to go. really just pouring salt into the wounds. What
Mm,
are we watching? Is this gonna be what we should expect out of Armada in the regular season? Is this what we're gonna expect from Sappers in the regular season? I certainly hope not. I will say these two teams don't play each other across the regular season, so if this is gonna be a playoff matchup, I'm betting,
whoa.
oh, Fabrizi
Whoa.
with leaving early. He's done.
Yeah,
Sappers are
yeah,
done. Armada's moving on, and they will face the Hammerheads in the semifinals.
yeah. I mean, noticeably, Armada looked, I would say, better in this series than they did in that first round series. And, well, Sappers definitely did not look as good as they did in that first round series. And you got to imagine the comms losing games 3-1, 6-1, 6-0. Spirits aren't going to be too high on that roster. It's going to be some tension. Not necessarily blame, you know. Hopefully, all these people got respect, but definitely disappointment at least. Not even a fight, not one close game. It just kept getting worse, which is surprising when you lose 3-1 in the first game. But that's we'll see. Sappers definitely got plenty of time. This is just a preseason tournament. Whether they keep the roster, whether they make some changes, whether they just get some more chemistry going. It seemed like they weren't quite on that page together, but Armada definitely looking like they got some chemistry, putting away their goals. A lot of it was easy goals, but I mean, if that's what the team's giving you, that's what you're taking, and that's what you're putting away.
I mean, on a three nothing sweep, like you can never say that, a team got lucky on a 5 game series. And Armada was definitely the better team. They were much more solid on defense. I think there was one goal there where there was a defensive lapse, mind you, that second game. But other than that, Armada was played pretty tight. They played pretty well back. They were kind of waiting for Sappers' mistakes, which Sappers was all too happy to make. Um, Not sure what was going on game one versus game two and game three. It almost felt like Armada understood. They punched Sappers in the nose, and they were like, Sappers bled, and then Armada smelled the blood in the water and just pounded on him. And you could tell the mental was broken at the end. I don't think, Fabrizi leaves a game early if the mental's high there. I think everyone was pretty well done with that game. And, you know, maybe maybe we needed a sub. Maybe Crocs sucks, probably unavailable. So yeah, it's
Definitely,
just tough to pull yourself out of the nosedive.
definitely a spiral. Definitely interesting to see from the side of Sappers, and it'll be interesting to see how the power rankings shake up. Armada looked pretty good, and Sappers looked pretty not good. So you gotta imagine both those teams' rankings will be shaken up. But that'll be it for our second round of the preseason tournament. As we're moving on to the semifinals, we only got a few teams left. Um, but it looks like that was some good matches. I'm not sure who we got for the next rounds yet, but it'll be very interesting to see if Armada can keep up that pace for the next round.
Yeah, so next round, Armada will be taking on the Hammerheads, which that might be where their run ends. But Armada's been surging, defeating 4 seed 3 Rocketeers, 5 seed Sappers. If there was a team that would continue their fairy tale run, I think I would bet pretty heavily on the Armada. Like, granted, everybody's an underdog when you're playing Hammerheads a little bit, but they kind of look a little bit scary. But I think Armada's showed me enough where I'm a believer now. I really I believe that they're going to be a force. I believe they're going to be a team that we're going to be looking at in the regular season. I think they're going to be a mainstay in the playoffs if, you know, not amazing. If I think they're going to definitely make the playoffs if we don't see too much roster shakeup really change how these teams look in the preseason. That's not necessarily it's still preseason. Teams still feeling out their rosters, so I really do think that Armada has won some people over, and they're definitely going to they're going to try build up some hype now, and I think they're going to start making some believers.
Yeah. Speaking of the Armada roster, we are joined by Kawhi and Insane Clown. What'd you
What up,
guys think of that
fellas?
series? Hello, guys. It was a very
Hey,
one-sided series and continued to go that way even as the rounds went on. Did you guys have any kind of set game plan? You noticed it in game one and were able to keep that rolling in game two and three?
Well, uh, I mean, we kind of came up with a game plan. It was more of we know they demo a lot, or they were a demo heavy team, and Kawhi had the good idea to uh, just wait for them to kind of overcommit, and that's basically what happened. We just had not open nets, but mainly open nets because they overcommitted a lot.
that and
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
we just assisted on pretty much every goal. Just a lot of teamwork.
Yeah, it definitely seemed that way. Like you guys were able to catch him out pushing too much. A lot of them were kind of some open nets. You guys had teamwork to put it away. And the assists were great for the team, but no goals too crazy. Did you guys feel like pressured on the defense at all? Because it didn't seem like they had a lot of life in them.
Not really. We like to play our own game, so and try to take the defense as it comes to us. Makes sense.
I mean, there was a few times that I felt out of position whenever I like backed up instead of just went forward, so I felt awkward a little bit. But once we got back in rotation, it was nice and solid. I felt so good overall.
Yeah, it was a good game.
So, in one final question, you know, or a couple of questions, excuse me. Sappers coming in undeniably the favorites, former champs. Everybody's thinking Sappers is going to win. Reaction now gaining probably a couple of fans, gaining myself as a fan definitely. Now that you showed up the champs, you 3-0 sweep them. What are the thoughts on the next match against the Hammerheads?
I mean, just continue doing what we're doing. We were ranked 15th best before it came in. A little fire under there.
Yeah, definitely that definitely had something to do with it. Like, what 15th really? And then like,
Yeah,
okay, we gotta
15th is
show them up.
crazy.
I think
Who's
those
who plays on the Hammerheads?
early
Is it?
Hammerheads is Joe Papa. It's SOS, Long Neck, and Norm. So
Oh, that'll be a good game.
Yeah.
yeah, I think we're all looking forward to that game. Yeah, you guys are 15th in the roster. It feels like those early power rankings. You went from 15th to 7th, and now I can't imagine you guys being outside of the top four as you make your way to the preseason semifinals. Did the expectations change now? Were you kind of feeling like maybe you weren't? Did you feel you were at a certain level, and now has that changed with your preseason success, or have you always known that you were this team and you were ready to just destroy the competition?
Um, I mean, I didn't think we were just gonna go in there and destroy. I thought we might drop a game or two, but I don't know. I just feel like we've just meshed really well. It's Cloud and I play a lot of twos, and then Mimsy just kind of fits right in, and then of course Pinky's really good too.
Yeah, Mimsy had a great series. Lowest rated player in the lobby, but definitely didn't play out of it. Looked like he belonged, had some nice goals there. Do you guys have any kind of different game plan knowing you have that lower rated player and that Kawhi and Insane Clown are both your 220s, so you're kind of expected to be those not necessarily hard carries, but tandem to kind of lead the charge? You play any different with that?
I mean, not really. If he's playing good that game, then I want him to be more upfield maybe, and I play a little more defense or back, or we just like, but we don't like to change a lot of stuff because if we start changing a lot of stuff, then rotations get off, and then our game goes down, and then so we just play as we feel. It's not. I don't really know how to explain that. I guess.
It's just we just trust him completely. It's just
Yeah.
he can do
When
everything
he's
we can do. You know, it's just
when he's
just gotta
playing like
show
that,
it.
Bimsy was definitely on the game. But it was a great series from you guys. I'm excited for the second round and see if you guys can keep it up in the next round. But I believe that'll be all for us from tonight.